Hello and welcome, Rito Gaming here, and today we're going to talk about Granblue Fantasy. Now, this is a game I thought about trying before, and I thought about trying the Japanese version, and I decided against it. I'm not really sure why, I think at the time I just didn't want to. But Zan messaged on YouTube, on one of my videos, and he asked me to try it out, so I thought I would. And I've got mixed feelings about it. The game isn't available on the English or American store, at least I couldn't find it. So what you have to do is download it off the Japanese store or get an APK. I'll leave a link to the APK in the video. An Android APK, sorry if you're on iOS, I'm not sure what you're going to do. And you can try it out for yourselves. The game... it's good, the game is good. But it has issues, I feel it has issues. We'll start at the top. The game is a web app. It's not a native Android app. So, what's a web app? Record Keeper is a web app. This game and Record Keeper seem to have been made using the same software. At least that's what the information in the install files tells me. And you can see it. The game has a lot of loading and it's always downloading from the server. There really isn't any option to download anything to the phone. It does store some data if you've used it recently and then gets rid of it later, but because of that it causes some issues. One of these issues would be sound effects in battle. Sometimes when you're in a fight, the sound effects don't go off when they should. They lag because they're downloading from the server, which sucks. And I'm sure a lot of this stuff would be sorted if you had really good internet. Myself, I don't, which kind of sucks. But on the other hand, they could also fix it using just allowing you to download data, like giving you the option to download, say, voices, sound effects and background music to your phone rather than downloading it when you need it from the server, you know? Anyway, with that little iffy part out the way, so the game's developed by Cygames and is published in Japan by Mobbage. The artist and composers, at least one of them, is really well known. The artist is Hideo Minabe. Now, this guy has worked with Square Enix in the Final Fantasy series since, like, forever. And you can tell, like, the art in this game is Final Fantasy art, without a doubt. The summons are Final Fantasy summons. The classes and jobs are Final Fantasy jobs, pretty much. Like, it's good. It's amazing. The art is great, but to the point of you would think this game is a Square Enix game. You would think that it's a Final Fantasy game, which isn't a bad thing. Part of me loves it. Part of me thinks it's amazing. The other part of me thinks it's really, really ripping Final Fantasy off, and I don't know if I like that or not. It's a bit conflicting. Composer is Nobuo Uematsu, who everyone should probably know at this point if you've watched my channel. I love this guy, his music is amazing. And there's another artist called Tsutomu Narita. I don't know who that guy is, it might be his first game, I'm not sure. Another note to put out about the game, you know I mentioned it was a web app. That also means that you can play this game online, on a browser, which a lot of people do because it doesn't seem to have all the downloading to the phone, you know, all the loading screens. It seems to just play really smooth. Now, I can't try that because I don't have a PC currently, so my suggestion really is for you to try both, see which one's better for you. If you can, say, play on the PC when you're at home, then just pick up the phone app and play it when you're out, or on the bus, on the train. That'd be awesome. Like, that'd be amazing. I don't know if you can, but that would be great. So, gameplay. Gameplay is Final Fantasy-esque, very Final Fantasy. Think about old school Final Fantasy. You click attack and your character's attack. You have skills. You can click on the player to see the skills they've got. And you've got basically a limit break. A bar that fills up during battle, which you can either use or not use. These limit breaks actually sync together. So say 3 people have a limit break, then they'll do all 3 limit breaks, and if the monster isn't dead, they'll do an extra, like, comboed one. you can sync together between 2 and 4. There technically is a total of 6 characters you can have in a party, but only 4 of them are in battle at one time, and there's 2 characters that are sub. So if one character dies, they'll come in. If I could make a suggestion, I would like the ability to take someone from the back row, as it were, and switch them in when I felt like it. A bit like Final Fantasy X, you know how you can just switch a character out with another character? That'd be awesome, because one of my characters can heal, but she's not really that great compared to some of my better characters. So it'd be nice to drag her in when my characters are dying, have her heal them up, and then go back to the back row. Or maybe bring someone in and they stay there. There's like a lock on it, so they stay there for 2 turns, and then you can switch again. That would be good. I would like that. Players also sometimes do more than one attack. If you remember older Final Fantasy games, this is more like the really old school Final Fantasy games. So I don't think it didn't happen in 7, 8 or 9. I'm not sure about 6, but sometimes, like a warrior would do 2 attacks rather than 1, or do 3 attacks rather than 1. This happens in this game as well. Sometimes, I don't know if it's a percentage or what it is, but sometimes your character will hit more than once, do 2 or 3 attacks, which is nice. That gives it a really old school Final Fantasy feeling. The artwork in battles, really cool. It's very chibi, sort of Final Fantasy-ish, which is nice. And again, the art's just amazing. So, the world map. World map is very mobile-esque, I guess, really. You have points on the map that you click, and at each point there'll be certain quests. You'll have some free quests, some storyline quests, and there's also some raid quests, or co-op quests. Raid quests are multiplayer. They're like big bosses that take 3 or 4 people to kill. So any raid I've done so far has been super low, and 3 or 4 people that have joined me have been like super high level and they've like one-shot it. So lol. But it's still fun. I haven't tried co-op yet, but I can't see it being that dissimilar to raids. I think what co-op is it's just literally choose this map, or choose this quest, get some people and do the quest together, rather than a boss battle. So there's that. Next up, you have the story. Now, wait, before the story, I'm going to talk a bit about voice acting. Every character in this game seems to be voice acted so far, which is great. The voice actors seem really cool, and you have this little pet. I can't even remember its name now. And this pet is pretty much Happy from Fairy Tail. Like, everyone calls him a lizard, and he gets super angry, and it's actually fucking hilarious. This little thing makes me laugh so much. He gets so mad. Even the side quests, the side quests aren't fully voice acted. Normally it's sort of the couch just making, blah blah blah, like little conversation, little noises, but the main story is just completely fully voice acted at this point. Now, the story so far is really engaging, at least for me. I'm really enjoying it. I can't really talk too much about it because I'll give you spoilers, but without it being spoiled, you meet a summoner at the beginning of the game, and you help save her from the Empire. Now, the Empire needs this summoner for a reason, and you're not going to let the Empire have him. And that's where the story picks up. Again, that's very Final Fantasy-ish. I just can't express enough that everything in this game is probably more Final Fantasy than what Final Fantasy have brought out in the past 5-6 years. To be completely honest with you, I'm surprised that Square Enix haven't actually said something, because it's just insane. I mentioned earlier about the music, and this is where it gets a little bit iffy. The music, the way it's done is the music's cut into really, really small segments, like 20-second clips, and is then repeated, which is pretty much what most people do, apart from it's a full song. But they don't loop the 20 seconds, and that's a problem. How most game music works is people write a song, and then you loop the song. And you make the file an OGG file, an OGG file, and in there you can put loop start, and you put a position, so say 0 at the beginning of the song. And then you put loop end at a certain point. And when the song gets to a certain point, it will literally go back to the beginning. And you can basically make looping songs perfect. Like, you won't even know the song's looping, and that's how it's done in games. But this game doesn't do it that way. It literally just replays the song. And that means during songs, there's a short gap where the song will stop. So it'll go like, and you'll hear that stop. At least I hear it. Especially if I'm playing with headphones on, which is one of the reasons why I can't play this with headphones on. Because that drives me insane. Now, I did think about going into the files and editing these and putting a loop and just seeing if it works. But because of the way they do their songs, there's like 2,000 background tracks. Because I'm sure, from what I've heard, there's only 9 tracks by the other composer and 11 by Uematsu. So they must have made full songs, and literally this company split them up. I can see why they did that, because that saves on downloads. You're downloading a background track, or this background track for this part of the quest, and it's only like 100 kilobytes. But, God, is it annoying! And that's where I think they would be able to save it if they let people download the music, because then you could have it looping properly. Or you could still have it looping properly. I don't get why it's not looped and why it's just replayed. So you can get new characters, weapons, summons, all that jazz. You get them from quests, storyline, or you can get them from your drawers or gachas or whatever. And the way the gachas work, from what I've worked out, is you draw a weapon. And normal weapons don't have characters linked to them. At least that's what I've seen so far. Neither do rare ones, I think. But super rare ones, or super rare, have characters linked to them. Rare ones might. That might have been bad on my eye. Maybe I just didn't get one, I'm not sure. But super rare and rare weapons, they have characters linked. Which is cool, because you're not rolling on characters, and it doesn't feel like characters... There's an overabundance of characters, there's like 10,000 characters that you can have, and they're just there, and most of them are useless. It does sort of make the characters feel part of the story, part of the world, which is nice on that. The gachas are really fair, and every time you complete a chapter, or every time you complete a side quest, you get 50 of this currency. Draws are 300, so it's not a lot, really, and you've got login bonuses and everything like that, and I think they're really fair. Something else I noticed that I was really amazed by is 2 things off the top of my head that I was really amazed by. They allow you to send a tweet out every day, once a day, to completely refill your stamina for free, which again is awesome. And if you fail a quest, like if you die and you don't want to use crystals or an elixir to restore your hit points, then they give you your stamina back. At least they did in the event I tried, which is amazing, because then you can just try it again, or you can just go and do another quest. It doesn't penalise you for failing, which is something that I think everything needs to do now, because that's just awesome. Like, are you serious? Why is there other games I go and I fail and it takes all my stamina away because that's how much the quest costs? That's not fair, is it? You have different classes, and obviously different classes have different skills. You start off with 5 classes, I think it is, and you can buy more with CP. Now, I had a bit of a problem where I spent my CP and I needed to get some more back, and I searched the internet and I couldn't work out, like, nobody gave me, nowhere I saw a straight answer, you get CP by doing this. And I'm going to tell you, you get CP by ranking up. Your physical rank, you get CP by. It's not every rank, but every few ranks you will get like 20 or 30 CP back. So there's that for anyone who is wondering that. And CP is class points. You also have job points later on. Now, you have a bunch of standard jobs, stuff like fighter, thief, lancer, all that sort of normal stuff that you would have in a Final Fantasy game. And then you have advanced classes like warrior, like kung fu master, like ninja, like paladin somewhere. It might not be called paladin, but there is a paladin. And these go very Final Fantasy. This is where it goes Final Fantasy 11y, Final Fantasy 14y. Now, to get Warrior, you need 2 classes level 20. Now, in Final Fantasy, you need 2 classes, one level 30 and one level 15 to get a job. Now, they're different jobs, obviously. I'm going for Warrior. Everyone on the internet says I should be going for, like, Dark Fencer, but I don't want to go Dark Fencer. I want to go Warrior. I played Warrior in Final Fantasy 14. I want to play Warrior in this game. So I need to get Fighter to 20, which I've done, and then I need to get Grappler, which is just a monk, or a Pugilist, to 20. And once I've done that, I can then buy the Warrior job and have Warrior. You can also have cross-class skills, which you have in Final Fantasy 14. So I'm currently on my Pugilist. Yeah, it's not called Pugilist. What's it called? Grappler. And I've taken a skill from my Fighter. So he now has 3 skills that he can use, which is awesome, because this skill, like, increases everyone, or increases his attack power, but lowers his defense. And it increases attack power by fucking loads. So that gives the game quite a bit of depth there. And you've got more than that. You've got like 1 row, 2 rows. You've got loads of rows of different characters, advanced jobs, and they keep adding more from what I've seen, which is great. Something I forgot to mention earlier was the fact that they have summons. And summons you can use as long as your main character is alive. And summons, they have sort of timers on them, at least the ones that aren't borrowed from friends. So far, I've got ones that have like 4 turns before you can summon them, ones that have 8. These times can be reduced. Before battle sometimes, there's like a little sequence where you run for a field and you just hit mobs. You press on the screen and it hits a mob. And these might drop items that reduce the timers for the summons in battle. So I keep getting ones that drop Proto Bahamut, turns are down. It reduced the turn by like 5. So if I get 2 of these before a battle, then I can summon Proto Bahamut straight away in the first battle, which is awesome. Now, would I suggest playing this game? Yes, I would. I would suggest definitely giving it a try, especially if you're a Final Fantasy fan or a fan of Uematsu or the art style. Final Fantasy Tactics art is very similar. Tactics Ogre, Final Fantasy 6, all the art is just Final Fantasy art, like, without doubt. That's all I can say. So, on that note, give it a try. But what are the pros and cons? Now, let's talk about the pros. It's a very small download size. You can start downloading at like 50 meg and play it. It does download as you play, and there is a cache which you can edit. I've got mine put up at 500 megs. So, for me, my internet's shit. So the more I have on my phone, the better. You can reduce this, and you can clean it and whatever from inside the game, which is nice. Another pro would be that it's also a web app. Now, I know I don't like the fact that it's a web app, but it does mean that it's not using a lot of resources. Even though the game's quite... It looks really nice. The graphics aren't bad or anything, but it doesn't use a lot of resources, which means my battery isn't drained in like 5 minutes, like when I'm playing Heaven X Inferno, or Mobius Final Fantasy, or Final Fantasy 9, or anything. Yesterday was like the first time that my phone had pretty much been on all day and not been charged. And I was playing this game all day, which is awesome. Another pro is obviously the music. Having someone like Nobuo Uematsu work on the music's normally a good idea. I don't know how much he charges really, but he must be fucking rich. Another pro is the art and the story. The story is really captivating me. I'm really enjoying this game, just going through the story and trying to find out what the fuck is going on with this summoner. There are more cons than pros, but I think the pros do outweigh the cons. And a lot of the cons could be sorted if they use their head a little bit and just allowed us to download some of the data. So let's talk about those cons. Now, a web app. Why? I really wish they just made it a native Android app. So it was all on my phone and I could just play through it and there weren't loading times between menus and, you know, see why every time I go back to a screen, go forward to a screen, leave a screen, it has to load, and that drives me insane, because it's just like Record Keeper, and that drove me insane in Record Keeper. There's the music being cut up into little bits. It drives me insane. Like, what are you doing? I get that it's cut up into little bits to save download size, but just give me the option to download the music. Or, not really download it all, but download high-res music or something called the full music and play it like a normal game. You know? Give me the option to download the sound effects so that when I use a summon in battle, the sound effects sync up with the summon. Because most of the time they don't. Most of the time, I've used a summon, it's hit, the monsters are dead, and then you hear... where all the sound effects are going off, and you're like, what? They're dead, mate! What the fuck is going on? You've got the fact that I had like all of these lined out, but I just enjoy this game so much. You've got the fact that it's not out on the English and American Android store, which I think they should release an English one. And the English is very good, but if I want to buy in-game currency, that still pops up in Japanese, so it's not completely English. Now, I think them releasing it on the English and American store would be, or the European English store, or American store, sorry, would be a really good idea. Even if they just had the option so it started in English, because it does start in Japanese. Honestly, for every pro, there's a con. Like, there's like a dark side of each pro. As I've said, the music's both. The animation is both. Because the animations are great, but they could be better. The story is the only one that doesn't have a con, I don't think. There is another pro, though, one that I haven't talked about yet. And this is also tied to it being a web app. Because it doesn't use a lot of resources, it also doesn't use a lot of memory, which, I don't know if any of you have this problem with games, but if I genuinely come out of a game, like say I'm just on the menu in Mobius, if I come out of Mobius and then start going on the internet or start going on Twitter, and I go back to Mobius, it will stop. Like, I'll have to reload Mobius from the start, and no offense to Mobius, that takes fucking ages. It's like 40 seconds loading, and that's annoying as hell. But in this game, because it's a web app, it doesn't. It's so small that Android natively doesn't suspend it when I go do something else, which is fucking amazing. I'm gonna give this a score. I wasn't gonna give it a score. But this has been a bit of a messy video anyway. I'm kind of all over the place and I'm bloody hungover, to tell you the truth. So, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 in its current state. I think if it sorted out its cons, if it allowed me to download all the data from my server onto my phone, like a gigabyte worth of data, install it, so it reduced the load times, so even if it wasn't natively Android, if it just allowed me to download everything, so it wasn't loading from the server all the time, then that would sort out most of my problems with it. But they won't. And I think most of my problems would be sorted if I could play it through a browser, which you guys can. So, if it sorted out to split up music and put it into big music files and had it looping, then I'd give it a 9. If it allowed me to do those two things, download everything to my phone and had proper looping music, then that would be a 9, easy. But in its current state, I'm going to give it a 7. You should definitely try it out though. It's definitely worth every bloody minute you play of it. If you can get past the little annoyances, which normally I can't, but I'm putting aside for this for the moment, then play it. Go give it a shot. Go download the APK and give it a shot. Thanks for watching.